All right, wonderful. Welcome everyone to the 2022 ASBSU election debate. So my name is Alex Luthi. I am the elections manager this year of ASBSU. I've been in control of these elections and watching over all these candidates. And I hope you all have a great time tonight. So the elections, for all of you who don't know, I will go over each position before the candidate goes along with their name. And our elections will be taking place next week on the 15th and the 16th, and the results will be set on the 17th. So with that being said, again, everyone have a great time. I'm going to pass it off to Ashley to make their introductions.
Yeah, hello everyone. Welcome to the 2022 ASBSU and IESC debates hosted by The Arbiter, your student-run news outlet on campus. We're going to begin the debates with the Associate Vice President of Student Organizational Affairs, then on to the Associate Vice President of Academic Affairs, then the Associate Vice President of Inclusive Excellence, and we will end out with the Vice President and Presidential question. All candidates will have 90 seconds to respond to each question. Additionally, at the very end, we will be taking audience questions. The President and Vice President tickets will have 90 seconds total to answer. So just keep in mind, if you both want to answer a certain question, you'll need to split that time up accordingly. Candidates that are named will be given a 30-second rebuttal, only if they're named directly by an opposing candidate. At the end of the President and Vice President debate, we will take 10 minutes to ask the Associate Vice President candidates audience questions. Then we will take 10 minutes to ask the President and Vice President candidates questions from the audience. Audience members can submit questions for any candidate at any time through the Google form. You can scan the QR code that will be up on the screen or on Zoom that is featured on the slideshow, or you can also go to tinyurl.com/ASBSU2022. I'm sorry, just 22. We encourage you to keep your comments to a minimum though and focus on just asking questions. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Alex to introduce the first candidate.
All right, and also just so everyone knows, this is a hybrid event. So we do have people in Zoom and there's a camera back there. This meeting will all be recorded and posted on the Arbiter website. And so for all those people who are tuning in on Zoom, yes, your cameras and your audio has all been muted and there's no commenting. That is just done to make sure that there's no interruptions. Jen is on there and she has replaced her photo with the QR code. So once again, people online are more than welcome to ask questions as well. Just fill out that form. And with that, let's get started. So first up here, we have the Associate Vice President of Student Organizational Affairs. So the AVP of Student Organizational Affairs is responsible for the Student Funding Board. They run meetings that award money to students and student organizations in compliance with ASBSU's financial code. Funding is available to all students and student organizations while funds are still available in ASBSU's accounts. And with that, I would like to introduce Riley Gray. And yeah.
All right, my name is Avp. I'm the news editor with The Arbiter, and I will be asking the questions to candidate Riley Gray. Our first question, could you explain your platform goals and why you decided to run for this position?
So for me, my goals for this position is to help raise awareness for student organizations, because I feel like COVID has really impacted how students are able to find out about these organizations and clubs. And I also want to help provide the funds for these organizations to really get back on their feet after being impacted by COVID. And I decided to run for this position because I always really loved being involved with student leadership, and I'd like to take the opportunity to get other students involved.
And our second question, how has your experience as an involved student at Boise State University thus far prepared you for the role of Associate Vice President of Student Organizational Affairs?
So I have been, this past year, I've been involved in the Honors College leadership team, and that has really prepared me to communicate effectively with student organizations and clubs, and really has helped me to learn more about leadership and working in these organizations. That's really helped me with this position.
The third question we have, how do you plan to increase accessibility and transparency in the funding process for student organizations and individual grants?
So I think I want to improve accessibility by first making sure that all of the students and organizations are aware of the processes and everything that is going on, and that we can make sure that it's communicated clearly and easily, and also just so we can make sure that everyone's aware. And I think honestly, just making sure that it's super accessible and that they are aware of the funds that are available to them.
And our fourth question, where do you believe the university has the most room for improvement when it comes to supporting student organizations? And how do you intend to help solve the problem?
Going back to my answer to the first question, I think the most room for improvement, especially during COVID, has been making sure that students are aware of what organizations and clubs and also money for these organizations are available to them. And I really want to help out with that by raising this awareness and providing these organizations and clubs with the funds to be able to increase student engagement. And I think helping to raise that awareness will really just help get more students involved.
And for our fifth question, in this position, there may be situations where you will not be able to grant funding to all applicants. How will you handle the decision-making process to grant and deny applications?
I think that the best option for this is to just be transparent with the applicants and just make sure that they are aware of the reasons why they are able to be granted this money. And also just to point them to resources that are available to them and other options, and just how they can possibly go about it in the future and be provided those resources.
And we received a quick comment. If you could speak a little closer in the microphone,
Oh, yeah.
just for people on Zoom to hear you, that would be great. And for our last question for this position, is there anything else that you want Boise State students to know about your platform goals for the upcoming year?
I just want to make sure that people know that we really want them to feel represented in the student government, and that I want them to know that these student clubs and organizations are a very important part of the government. And I think this year we really want to work towards making sure that they're funded and that they feel like their voice is heard, and that we will listen to their feedback and really just make sure that students are getting involved and feeling heard.
All right, thank you so much. That was our last question for SSU Vice President of Student Organizational Affairs.
All right, thank you, Riley. So now we're on to our next position. That is the Associate Vice President of Academic Affairs. So the AVP of Academic Affairs is the steward and the chair of the Academic Senate, as well as a position that serves as liaison to the Faculty Senate. This position is charged with advocating for students and their academic rights. And with that, I would like to introduce Liska Barton.
All right, hello, my name is Ian Speaks, and I'm a news reporter with the Arbiter, and I'll be asking questions for the Associate Vice President of Academic Affairs. For the first question, just explain your platform goals and why you decided to run.
So my platform is to foster an environment of academic excellence at the school. I think that's something we need to work on, is the graduation rate, and also getting accessibility and advertisement of financial aid out to everybody. Currently, for last year, 2020-2021 school year, 44% of students received a grant or scholarship. I went on the scholarships page last night. There was about 1,000 available, and I think a lot of those may go unclaimed. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but I'm sure that there is, some that go unclaimed. And I think that we, looking at the graduation rate for a four-year bachelor degree seeking students, is at 28.6%. I mean, we need to really get that up, and I think we need to pinpoint where the problem is and how we can, where, how, and why it's happening, It's not happening in the freshmen because 79% make it past their freshman year. That's the freshman retention rate. So my overall goal is to just help everyone academically, get that out there for everybody. So.
Is the microphone on? Okay, you still very well.
Oh, yeah, okay. Here we go.
All right, and for the second question, how has your experience as an involved student at Boise State University thus far prepared you for the role of Associate Vice President of Academic Affairs?
So as far as my experience, I just joined the General Assembly of ASBSU this semester, and I'm currently TAing a Psych 295 statistical class. So as far as my experience, I would say, compared to past candidates and current candidates of other positions, I would say, yes, I'm lacking in experience, but I don't see it as a downfall. I see it as an opportunity for growth. And I think that it also gives me an opportunity to look to other members of my community, whether it be faculty, students, other ASBSU members, and I can look to them for guidance. I also think that I have a little bit of unbiased view, not being so involved before, but I think it, again, it's an opportunity for growth.
And for the third question, how will you work to improve faculty-student relationships across campus?
So with faculty and student relationships, I think the biggest thing is bridging the gap between them. I think how we can do that is make sure that every course has a teaching assistant or a learning assistant. I think that bridges the gap between the two, but also bridges students to other students. I think every year brings a unique characteristic to the university. I mean, freshmen, you're just coming in, you're figuring out what you want to do. Sophomores, you're finishing up your lower division, you're finishing your foundations. Juniors, you're getting ready for your senior year. It's the biggest year. I think it's the most important. And seniors, you're getting that degree. And I think that if we create students that are helping other students in faculty settings and classroom settings, I think that will bridge the relationship better.
All right, for our fourth question, what are the biggest academic issues you currently think affect students at Boise State? And how would you focus on solving those? How would you use your position to address these issues?
So I think something we can't all ignore is COVID. I mean, myself as a sophomore, I know some people that are freshmen, we have not experienced college without a COVID world. And it's really been hard on people, not just mentally, but academically as well. I mean, I know coming here, we had to completely shift and adapt to an online world and all these different, I mean, I remember my freshman year, I was so confused and just, there was so many different platforms that we had to do homework and tests on, and the online sense, I mean, last year alone, 16,360 students took at least one online course. And I think we need to shift back to in person because I think learning happens in person. And I think also, I mean, this already happened, but the masks being gone on Monday, that's a great thing. I think that humans need to see facial expression. And that's, I mean, that'll help foster learning as well. So that's what I think.
All right, for our fifth question, how would you plan on advocating for free student expression in the classroom?
I would say that we need to be respectful of others' opinions. I sometimes feel like in the classroom setting, you could be seen as wrong just because you don't agree with somebody else, or you're seen as the A, B, or C. It's freedom of expression. We got to really work on not allowing censorship just because you don't agree with somebody. I think that we need to learn that. I mean, the U.S. itself is so divisive and just difference of opinion. And I think, at BSU, we definitely could work on that just by, I think that's something that needs to happen with the faculty first versus the students. They need to implement that.
All right, and for our sixth question, in your campaign statement, you referenced relieving financial burdens on students. Can you explain any future initiatives or plans you have considered in order to do this?
Yeah, definitely. Again, like I said, my first question, there are a lot of scholarships on just that Boise State offers alone. And I think that we need to advertise that better because I know myself personally and other people I know personally as well, they are very stressed about, we live in a world where our generation has to face the consequences of rising tuition rates because we're not getting funded by anywhere else. And so I think, we got to advertise it better. People don't know about it. They don't go on the website. They don't look through the pages. They don't dig deep. So if we advertise that better, and also, I mean, we can always create more scholarships. Why not? I mean, I know there's one that was just created for women in engineering, law, and medicine. I don't know, in relation to a response from a professor.
Right, and for our last question, is there anything else you'd want Boise State students to know about your platform and goals for the upcoming?
I just want them to know that I'm always there to listen and I'm always there to support. I mean, I support my students in my TA class. It's very important to me. I think that if we all come together and express unity as one, I think everyone will benefit. And that will go back to my goal of raising the graduation rate.
What was our questions?
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Now on to our third position. This is going to be the Associate Vice President of Inclusive Excellence. So the AVP of Inclusive Excellence is charged with holding other members of the Executive Council and ASBSU as a whole accountable to harmful behavior. They chair the ICSC and are responsible for advocating on behalf of most marginalized student populations in any given situation. So the candidate for this one will be Melanie Figueroa Zavala.
As stated, these next questions are for the Associate Vice President of Inclusive Excellence. Our first question, could you also explain your platform goals and why you decided to run?
Yeah, hello everyone. My motivation is to run for this position is driven behind my experiences as a woman of color and a daughter of immigrant parents here in, predominantly white institution. My experiences have given me quite a unique experience, and given the COVID situation, I've seen how minority group students have been impacted by the situation even more so than every other student. The goals of my platform are just to be able to create community and be able to support each and every student.
Our second question, how has your experience as an involved student at Boise State University thus far prepared you for the role of Associate Vice President of Inclusive Excellence?
Yeah, so as I stated before, my experiences in effect to my unique identity have given me awareness to all of the, not all, but most of the impacts that a student that has been historically oppressed faces. And my movement here at Boise State has given me the ability to see things from a unique perspective. I'm involved in various organizations, multicultural organizations, as well as I work under the World Languages Department, in which I'm able to see how students whose first language is not English are affected. And I'm also part of the Tree Horizon Scholars Program, in which I'm able to see how first generation students, low-income students, students with disability are impacted. So I think I'm very well rounded in how many students are impacted, and I think I really want to be able to stand by them and support them and represent them.
For our third question, considering the ongoing threat of defunding the campus university and the ongoing threat of defunding of diversity and inclusion initiatives by Idaho legislators, how do you hope to approach providing and maintaining access to diversity programs on campus?
I would like to approach this by ensuring that the university and our legislators are aware of how important we are as underrepresented students and how much we contribute to the university, and just ensuring that they are reminded of their commitment to excellence and how inclusion contributes to excellence.
For our fourth question, what are some of the ways you would incorporate student voice and involvement on campus regarding diversity programs?
I think there's already several student organizations that are promoting inclusion. And I think the way that I would approach this is just by promoting these already existing organizations and reaching out to individual students and letting them know the organizations and the resources that are already available to them.
Our fifth question, acknowledging the lack of communication that has occurred between students and faculty surrounding the UF 200 class suspensions, COVID protocols, and the committees in charge of the BPD contract decision from last year, how do you plan to advocate for transparent communication between the student body and the university administration?
So my position is really to be a mediator already, so I really want to be there for the students, be able to listen to all of their needs, and then be the person that truly takes this to the university, takes this to our staff, takes this to our faculty, and help them understand our struggles and help them see what it is that we truly need and help them be able to get to a place where our needs are met.
And for our last question, is there anything else that you want Boise State students to know about your platform and goals for the upcoming year?
With my platform, all I really want to do is create a community where every student feels represented. So I just want them to know that I'm here for them, I'm here to listen to them, and that'll be all.
Thank you, Melanie. That was our last question.
Okay, thank you, Melanie. So I want to have a quick reminder again for anyone who may have been joining us late on Zoom. We have already gone through our first hearing. We are approaching the vice president and president debate. You are muted and your video cameras will be turned off on Zoom. Don't be afraid of that. That's done on purpose, just in case someone forgets to turn theirs off. And with that, we will move on. So the vice president position and president position will be next. So the vice president is responsible for assisting the president in the execution of their duties if possible and chairing the joint legislative meeting with the General Assembly and Academic Senate. The vice president also takes the president's place in the event of their absence, inability to fulfill their duties, or following the president's resignation or removal. Then we also have the president. The president is responsible for setting the vision and the direction of ASBSU, ensuring that all appointments to university committees are fulfilled, and being the primary diplomat between, the diplomat between the associated students and any entity that impacts the general welfare of student body. This especially includes university administration. And with that, in no particular order, we will be joined by our candidates. So on this podium I'm at right now will be Adam Jones and Ryan Bernard. In the middle will be Julie Pepperman and Sarah Fry. And on the far right, we will have Eric Klein and Kelsey Zach.
Hello, candidates. My name is Ashley Clark. I'm the online editor for The Arbiter. I will be asking the first half of these presidential ticket questions, and then I will be passing it off to Phoenix. Just a quick reminder, you do have 90 seconds on the clock to answer each question split between your entire ticket. If you do name someone of an opposing ticket, they do have a 30-second opportunity for rebuttal. We only have one microphone, so interruptions are not encouraged, but we will make sure that everyone does get that 30-second rebuttal time. So first of all, can everyone see the timer okay? Great, okay, perfect. So then let's get into it. So starting with our first ticket here on the left, can you guys please explain your platform goals and why you decided to run and introduce yourselves?
For the question. Thanks for everyone for coming out today. I love to see the engagement in the student body. My name is Eric Klein. I'm the current communications officer for ASBSU. I've been in ASBSU for 3 years, and in those 3 years, I've fallen in love with our student government and the ability we have to make change, flaws and all.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kelsey Zach. I'm a junior, and I am a current senator for the School of Public Service.
So our campaign boils down to 3 main points. We call it student BSU, student belonging, student safety, and student unity. Belonging is all about making sure every student on campus feels like they have a place in a club, frat, a sorority, or a student org. I mean, make sure those student orgs have the resources, funding, most importantly, representation in our student government to make sure they can have the dreams be a reality.
And our second one is S, which stands for safety. Eric and I think this is the #1 priority on campus. And just a few ideas that we have are to implement more lighting and expand our student safety pickup rides.
Final point, the student unity, we want to make sure that our ASBSU, our student government, is working for the students. We want to give our representatives and senators the ability to effectively go out and get feedback from their constituents with every bill or resolution. We want to make sure that club leaders are coming in and talking with us and giving us their feedback. We want to make sure that our student government is working for them, and we need change to make that happen. We're excited to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric and Kelsey. We'll pass it over to Julie and Sarah. So again, the question is, please introduce yourselves and explain your platform, goals, and why you decided to run. Let's maybe keep the mic on while passing it. Hello, there you go, perfect.
Hi, I'm Julia, I'm running for president.
And I'm Sarah, I'm running for vice president.
So 3 of our goals are transparency, advocacy, and safety. For transparency, we want you guys to be at the center of everything we do, meaning we'll be consistent with our social media, and you guys will never have a question of what goes on in an assembly meeting, what goes on in a Senate meeting, what's being passed. We'll be consistent, and if you guys have any questions ever, we will always be ready to answer them. Which goes into advocacy for our online forum. You guys can always question. We want to build relationships with everybody, each and every one of you, and we work for you. So you guys tell us what you want us to do.
And our third initiative is safety, both physical safety and mental health safety. Kind of back what Julie was saying is that we work for the students, we want to be your voice, hear your needs and your ideas. We want to commit to a better campus and a better all 3 of these initiatives: transparency, advocacy, and safety.
Thank you. And a quick comment for all candidates, just make sure that you're speaking directly into the mic so that people on Zoom can hear as well. Thank you so much. So let's pass it on to Adam and Ryan. Again, the question is, please introduce yourself, explain your platform, goals, and why you decided to run.
All right, hello guys, my name is Ryan. I'm ready to be
Can you bring the mic up too?
I'm ready to be your guys' next vice president. One of the reasons I decided to run is because over the last 2 years I've been at Boise State. I've noticed a lot of problems I've had with the school, and I figured the best way to get those problems solved is to tackle them firsthand.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Adam Jones, and I chose to run for president of Boise State because I've run up here for 19 years. This is my hometown. And so when I decided to go to college, Boise State was the immediate correct answer for me. But when I came here, I realized there's a lot of things that I wanted to see changed and improved. Boise State has so much potential, we just have to achieve it. Now, our campaign does not focus on slogans. It doesn't focus on catchy, memorable statements. It focuses on action. It focuses on policy that we can change our school for the better. And that starts with student involvement. We have a heck of a lot of clubs and organizations at this school, fraternities and sororities, that are not being recognized for their potential. Our fraternities and sororities compose 2,000 members of the Boise State student body. Yet frequently, they're seen as the party hard students that do not care about their education. This is incorrect. We need to change that stigma. We need to improve their student experience just like we need to improve the rest of our students. That's not our only platform. And throughout the rest of this debate, we hope to show you the rest of the great things that we plan to do to improve the overall student body at Boise State University. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam and Ryan. We'll keep the microphone with you guys for the second question. How has your experience as an involved student at Boise State University thus far prepared you for the role of president and/or vice president?
That's a great question. Being at Boise State University, there's so many opportunities that you can be involved. And the opportunities I've chosen to involve myself in are in the Honors College. I've dedicated a lot of my time, a lot of my energy to improving that space. And my position currently within the Honors College is on the Honors College Funding Board. So every request for the student body to be improved through that unit comes through my office. And we are dedicated to improving all access to student belonging services. Now, at ASBSU, this is my first semester in the General Assembly. And in my position, I have serving as the on-campus representative, which compromises the largest portion of any group within Boise State in the General Assembly. And that position has taught me very simple things. First off, there are problems that students just don't know how to reach out to those to fix them. The first of those being the laundry services on campus. Laundry services cost $3 for every time you're going to wash and dry your clothes. And within my first 2 weeks in that position, that was the number one complaint I received. Within 2 weeks, we spoke with the administration, and next year, there will be no cost. That is my experience. And Ryan?
I haven't necessarily been involved as much as these other candidates have, but I guess I'm kind of an outsider in that sense. That doesn't mean I don't know problems that the students are facing at this school, and I look forward to improving those problems.
Thank you. We're going to pass the mic back over to Eric and Kelsey.
It's on, okay.
There we go. To repeat the question, how has your experience as an involved student at Boise State thus far prepared you for the role of president and/or vice president?
Awesome. So what I think is really exciting about our campaign is that we have 6 combined years of ASBSU experience. I currently serve on the executive team as a communications officer, managing most communications for all of ASBSU. My prior 2 years, I worked in both of our legislative branches, a founding member of the Senate, a founding chair of the Human Relations Committee. My freshman year, I was the first year rep. I served on the Blue League Broncos Committee and the Ethics Committee. This year, I managed to chair the communications committee. In my 3 years at ASBSU, I've had a hand in over 30 pieces of legislation that have gone through ASBSU. I'm very proud of my experience in ASBSU, and I'm very excited to bring it to the forefront of our campaign and what we can do to change ASBSU for the better.
And like I said earlier, I am currently the academic senator for the School of Public Service. So I have had the opportunity to hear from a lot of students, but as vice president, I am looking forward to hearing from all of the students, not just the ones that are under the School of Public Service. This is actually my 3rd year on the Sustainability Committee, so I've really enjoyed that. And also I have served on the executive board for my sorority Alpha Sigma Alpha. And so I've had a lot of leadership development within my years at Boise State.
Thank you. And Sarah, I'll ask the question again. How has your experience as an involved student at Boise State thus far prepared you for the role of president and/or vice president?
So being a junior, I have had a few leadership roles. I founded a club on campus called Network of Enlightened Women, which I'm the president of. I was the director of recruitment in Tri-Delta, and I've only had an experience of being in assembly, which was only a semester long. I was on the government relations committee. It was great. But I don't see that as a problem. I see that as we can bring fresh faces to ASBSU, and we haven't been here for long, so we can implement the changes that we've seen other students struggle with and bring a fresh face to it all.
And for myself, I am a junior as well, and I actually transferred to Boise State in 2020. I have actually lived abroad in Valencia, Spain, and I feel like just this experience, I've gone multiple mission trips to Central American countries of just having this multicultural background of just being immersed in other people's cultures and ways of life. And I just had that learning mindset. And then since being at BSU, I'm involved in many campus organizations and the leadership program here at Boise State. Although Julie and I are unique in that way that I don't have as much ASBSU experience currently, but we provide that fresh face, whereas sometimes being involved in something for a long time doesn't necessarily make it better, but that we have those fresh perspectives and ideas to bring to the table of really bringing that needed change at Boise State needs.
Thank you. And we'll keep the mic with you guys. Question 3, can you tell us about your previous leadership experiences and how they have prepared you for these positions?
So like we mentioned, we don't have a lot of ASBSU experience, but I don't think that hinders us. I was a director of recruitment for Tri-Delta, and I got to work as a panelist delegate for ASBSU. I didn't get to do much because there were just some issues in how assembly got to run. And so I'm looking forward to, as president, bringing assembly to a better communication standard and having everybody have a job, having everybody do what they want to do. On the government relations committee, we didn't get to do much either. We had to do voting with registering to vote, which was very cool, but there wasn't too much there either. So we're looking to bring more to ASBSU in terms of what people do. There are a lot of vacant positions, so we want to fix that as well.
Thank you. And we'll pass the mic to Adam and Ryan. So again, for question 3, can you tell us about your previous leadership experiences and how they have prepared you for these positions?
Yes, another great question. So not only am I the on-campus representative, as well as one of the members of the Honors College Financial Board, I previously served as 4 consecutive terms as the student body president of my high school, and as well as also being nominated to serve our nation in the United States Air Force Academy as a second lieutenant. Outside of school, I am a legislative assistant at the Idaho State Capitol and work personally with members of the legislature to not only craft bills, but also to understand their impact on the state as a whole. This experience has given me the opportunity to not only learn how to be a leader, but how to work with a team. Because one of the big issues that I seem to see with ASBSU is we have too many directions going all in different places. We are a team at the end of the day. Titles should not be important. It should be, how are we going to achieve our goals? So being a leader is phenomenal, but learning how to work as a team is even better.
Like Adam was saying, I also work at the Capitol. I work at the Capitol under the majority leadership and House of Representatives. Doing this, I've built a lot of relationships with people that directly affect Boise State and funding and decisions they make that affect the everyday life of the students here at the school. I've built strong relationships with those representatives, and I feel like I could bring those representatives to make, or those relationships to make Boise State better.
Thank you. We'll pass the mic over to Eric and Kelsey. And the question is, can you tell us about your previous leadership experiences and how they have prepared you for these positions?
Absolutely. You guys got to hear a little bit about my spiel with my experience in ASBSU. I'm most grateful for my experience as the communications officer this year in the executive branch, because I've learned so much about how ASBSU works, what it's all about. It's about connections, it's about building relationships, it's about working with students, it's about working with administration. It's not something I would have been aware of as an outside candidate. Outside of that, just to tell you a little bit about myself. In high school, I was part of 12 different student boards. I led 8 of them. I am someone that just cannot get away from getting involved in my community. Over 1,000 hours of volunteer service. I just love serving people around me. I think they give me a really good opportunity to continue serving in this position. I'm really excited about it.
I actually want to focus on one of my past leadership experiences, and that's my involvement in sustainability committee. Before joining, I actually had no clue that many students were passionate about being like more sustainable at Boise State. And so with that, I learned that I want to hear from all students, because I know there's a lot of different passions out there, and I want to somehow take those passions and make sure that ASBSU is representing them.
Having worked in the executive office, I've had the opportunity to already start forging relationships with deans and administration, and I'm excited to carry that forward moving into this position.
Alrighty, hello candidates. I'll be asking this next set of questions so it can stay with you. And this next question is, in your position, do you plan on engaging with the Idaho legislature about budgeting and funding cuts to the university? If so, how do you plan to address these issues that impact students?
Oh. So of course, absolutely, we'll be working with the legislature. It's something that's absolutely a part of ASBSU. Just this year, we added a position within the executive branch of lobbyists to make sure that our student government is effectively working with the legislature to make sure we can do everything we can to advocate for students' needs and interests. We want to make sure that budget stays where it is and goes up, absolutely. We need to recognize that ASBSU funding does not come directly from the legislature, but from student funds directly. So if we want to improve anything on campus, we want to raise more funds, we'll have to put that in the students. We want to avoid that the best we can. We want to give the different groups on campus the funding they need by improving funding through the legislature. So that way everyone has the resources they need need to say improve lighting, like one of our safety policies talks about, excuse me. Cool, okay.
Just to restate the question, in your position, do you plan on engaging with the Idaho legislature about budgeting and funding cuts to the university? If so, how do you plan to address these issues at university?
Yes, we do. I think it's a huge asset if we are elected. The ability ASBSU has to work with the legislature. I work for the lieutenant governor right now, so I'm familiar with how bills are passed and proposed in there. But I think as students going there and advocating for you guys will be a huge asset. We're excited to do that, and we want to build a relationship with the legislature because they can help us out so much if we have a relationship with them and a good one. And they want to help us out as students. They want to work with the state. So to get funding, to get all that, we need to talk to them. We need to get more students to go to the Capitol, and we need to get them excited to work with them.
All right, once again, in your position, do you plan on engaging with the Idaho legislature about budgeting and funding cuts to the university? If so, how do you plan to address these issues at your students?
Well, yes, we do, Phoenix. So as you brought, working with the Idaho legislature is a vital part of student government. We are the voice to connect from the 23,000 students at Boise State to the Idaho State Legislature. And Ryan and I have a phenomenal way in right now. We work there 4 days a week, every week. We know them personally. They call us all the time. We have a phenomenal relationship with them. Every single time we see a member of the legislature, they want to know what is going on at Boise State. Not because they're interested in defunding the school, because they really want to know more about what our school does. Because they have this outside perspective. This outside perspective that they read in the news and they hear from third-party sources. If we are going down there all the time to the state legislature and telling them the things that we're doing don't deserve to have $18 million of all our budget removed, they're going to listen to us because they know us, because they like us. The problem is trying to forge a new relationship. We won't have to do that with our ticket because we know them, because they like us. Hell, 2 of our representatives of the Idaho State Legislature endorsed us for this position. They like us. Ryan, would you like to speak more on that? Exactly. There really is not much more to cover. We know them, they like us. We want to work with them, and they really want to work with us.
We're continuing a relationship, not building a new one.
All right, so for this next question, this is just for the presidential candidates, so can say with you, Adam. What are some issues or initiatives that you'd like to build upon or address differently from the current ASBSU administration?
I think transparency is one of the biggest problems that we see at the school. We hold our meetings for ASBSU online in a secluded environment. Most of the student body doesn't know what ASBSU stands for, much less what it does. That needs to change. We need to be holding our meetings in a public area where they can see what we're doing. When we vote on bills, we vote on resolutions, what is reported is the final count. How much each representative does, each senator does, that's an issue. They should be knowing the people that represent them, what are they doing for you, right? It's hard to connect with your government, your school government, if you don't know what they're doing. So transparency and accountability come directly to them. And that is solved by direct student involvement. What I'd like to see next year, that we have not seen this year, is direct students coming to ASBSU to testify on things that they want to see us do. At the Idaho State Legislature, if you're passionate about something, you go and testify on a bill. Not here at ASBSU, when we're supposed to be closer to the students, we are actually more removed from them because we don't take their input directly. We ask for them to write it down and send it to us in an email. I don't want to see that anymore. I want to see them coming and telling us exactly how they feel on something, exactly what they want to see done. Because that's how we involve the students. I mean, we just brought up 7% of students vote. It's probably because they don't know who we are or what we do. We have to change that next year.
Just to restate the question, what are some issues or initiatives that you would like to build upon or address differently from the current ASBSU administration's tenure?
Absolutely. So I think something that ASBSU has struggled with for all 3 years that I've been here I came in, right before COVID, is engagement on all levels. Our assembly is hardly filled right now. I think we're about 10 or 25 slots. No, that's abysmal. Our Senate is not filled adequately. Most of those are not elected positions when they're supposed to be. We need to make sure that all these positions are getting filled so that way all student groups on campus are getting represented. Second of all, our executive branch, and I'm working in it, so I'm talking to myself here. We haven't been working as a team effectively. As far as I know, that has been a problem for years and years. We need to build a team around a common vision, a common goal from day one. We need to understand why are we here, what's the point of student government, and how are each of one of our positions going to make that happen. Moving forward, I think Adam brings up a great point. We need to make sure that more students are bringing in their vision to ASBSU, their perspective. This year, we've had one resolution passed by a student at large that not going to pass exclusively, but brought forward. That needs to go up. We want to create a club senate, name pending, that allows any club that wants to send a delegate once a month, maybe twice a month. Come talk to us about the issues that concern them. Come propose legislation to us. Come talk about the things that they're doing. And in reverse, we're going to talk about the things we're doing, the legislation's on the docket, and give them the chance to come in and say, hey, we agree with this. No, we don't.
All right, so Adam, since you were mentioned in the last bit, would you like a chance to rebuttal for 10 seconds?
Nothing would please me more. Thank you. Yes, you are correct. We need to have more involvement. And one of the things that we plan to do once in office is to have a larger voice in the student body. Not only do we have a whole hell of a lot of positions that are not filled, but we have positions that don't even exist that we think should be created. Those two are two new positions in the Executive Council. President of the IFC, the Interfraternal Council, and the president of the Hellenic Society, to get them involved in the legislative process that we have in Boise State. If we have these two new positions, we can more directly reach.
Sorry, Adam, you're- And then, Julie, so what are some issues or initiatives that you would like to build upon or address differently from the current ASBSU administration?
Question. Thank you for the question. We want to increase transparency. That's a huge one. I agree with that. Nobody knows what ASBSU is or what they do. We've been going around chapters, fraternity, and sorority, and asking, and they do not know what they do. We want to post everything on Instagram. That means, what is the bill? Why is it getting passed? Is it even going to get passed? Because we work for you. It's about the students. We want to achieve representation for all. We welcome any diversity of thought because that's how the best ideas are created. And I don't think it's been like that in the past. This year, years past, I think Boise State and ASBSU are here and students are here. And that's not how it should be. We literally exist for the purpose to serve you. So that definitely needs to change. We are excited to build a relationship with every single student. Our online forum, we're excited to start that up if elected because people can submit questions to us specifically. We'll answer them. We can meet you one-on-one. We'd love to do that and see how we can help you directly because our idea of how to help could be different from how you think you need to be helped.
All right, so this next question is for the vice presidential candidates, and so if you say, start. In the role of vice president, you will appoint students to leadership roles and teams that represent the voice of students across Boise State. How do you plan to build a diverse student assembly team to ensure representation and equity in decision making?
Well, I think honestly that process has started now. We've been going to there's a variety of clubs and organizations on campus, and Julie and I are aware of that. And we've currently started that process of reaching out to those clubs and organizations, which is a variety of different beliefs and backgrounds and ways in which people go about life and things that they are passionate about that make them diverse and what brings the diversity to Boise State's campus. So I feel like just that process of connecting with those students in their clubs, connecting with the presidents, and just building those relationships and finding the interest in that way, kind of like Julie said, just basing it off of diversity of thought. That's really what we want to focus with Boise State's campus is just kind of rerouting what diversity means and bringing about a variety of different ideas and ways of thinking and ways of life and basing that off of people's different backgrounds and experiences and bringing those together to learn from one another and to grow, and creating, I guess, leadership boards that way, based off of people's different backgrounds and experiences.
We can pass it over to you. Yes, in your role of vice president, you will appoint students to leadership roles and teams that represent the voices of students across Boise State. How do you plan to build a diverse student assembly team to ensure representation and equity in decision making?
Thank you. Yes, like the other two tickets have touched on, I don't think a lot of people know what ASBSU is. And so with that, when appointing students to these positions, I think it's important to reach out to students that I don't know, not just people who I know are leaders on campus. They are great, they're doing their thing, but I think it's important to find those students that maybe feel like they could make a change, feel like they should have their voice heard, but need that little bit of encouragement, because I think a lot of student leaders now have all been one of those students before. They sit on maybe the sideline and say, I really wish that would have been different. And I think there's a lot of students out there that would love to sit on assembly and represent the community that they come from. I want to make sure that everyone on assembly comes from all walks of life. So right now, actually, we do not have anyone sitting on assembly for international students, first-year students, transfer students, and many more. And I think that it would be super beneficial to actually send out a nomination form to all the students and say, hey, we don't have someone representing the first-year students right now, or we don't have someone representing transfer students. Do you know one who could sit on assembly? And I have many more ideas, but that is just the one I'm most excited about.
In the role of vice president, you will appoint students to leadership roles and teams that represent the voice of students across Boise State. How do you plan to build a diverse student assembly team to ensure representation and equity in decisions?
One thing Adam and I would like to do is to reach out to students, as the other candidates were saying, that are from all aspects of Boise State. We want to get it as inclusive as possible, so everybody's represented. Like Adam was saying earlier, one of the things, we want to create 2 new positions that represent Greek life positions in the executive council. It's almost 3,000 students in Greek life in Boise State. That's over 10%. If they have no say, if you ask them how they feel about the relationship with ASBSU, they'd say poor. We should do everything we can to improve that. We shouldn't have students having the feeling that the relationship with the school is bad. We want to do everything we can to reach out to students to make sure they're bringing not only their problems with us, but they're represented in the student government, so we can work towards fixing their problems, because everyone here has problems with the school that they'd like to see change. And the only way we can solve those problems is by getting people involved. And that's just what Adam and I would like to accomplish.
All right, and for our final question in the set of questions, is there anything else that you would want Boise State students to know about your platform and goals for the upcoming year?
I think what we really need to focus on is, why are we running for president? Are we doing it to achieve the next level in office that we haven't yet gotten? Are we doing it because we want a line item on our resume? No. We're doing it because we want to see real and constructive change. When we came to Boise State, we saw Boise State as the perfect school. And the longer we've been here, we realized it can be. What we need to accomplish to get it to that point is we need to eliminate student over credit fees. So when you try to graduate early and take more than 16 credits, you don't get penalized. We need to improve Greek life and our relationship with the school. We need to create something like a Greek row system in which it actually incentivizes Greek students to stay on campus in a large style community, which also fosters a sense of community within the school. We need to improve our actual transparency within the school. That means we need to let students know what it is that we're doing, who is the one that did that, and why we're trying to get that done. Ryan and I are dedicated to hearing from every single student out there. Right now, it seems to me that's a select few in a dark room online that are selecting decisions for the student body. We don't want to see that anymore. We want it to be out in the public, everyone's perspective represented. That is what you'll get with the Jones-Bernard ticket. A fresh perspective, willing to work with others, willing to get the job done. We urge you to vote for us. Thank you.
All right, Eric and Kelsey, is there anything else that you want Boise State students to know about your platform and goals for the upcoming year?
Thanks, Phoenix. Our ticket might not be able to promise a Greek row. We probably can't get rid of overcharge fees for over credits. But we can promise is that we're bringing years of experience and tangible goals that we know are achievable. We know we can get 20% more money on campus. I know we can get more participation in clubs. We have to have experience. We have to have working relationships with people in the positions that have the power to make change. We believe our ticket brings that experience. We believe our ticket brings those relationships. We're excited to make it happen.
Yes. Also, I just don't want to leave out one position that I didn't mention that's not filled in the assembly. I'm starting my work early. If any of you know anyone that is in the Gender Equity Center that would like to be an assembly member, let us know. And to end on a good note, I just want you all to know that Eric and I are very fun people. We're all very serious looking up here, but I promise we are very easy to talk to, and that's something that Eric and I can bring to the table. We're really good listeners, and we would love to, whether that's have a serious meeting with you or just go grab coffee, please reach out to us. Info climbs out.
Is there anything else that you want Boise State students to know about your platform and goals for the upcoming year?
We'd love to go into more depth for transparency. Like we said, we want to post on Instagram every single thing that we do. You guys can always DM us and reach out to us. We want to build a relationship with you with our online forum. Submit any questions, concerns. Sarah and I want to go through those every week and reach out to you or answer you. And I think that's very doable. And for advocacy, we do want to advocate for all clubs, whether that's more funding or Greek life. We want to give every chapter a designated house. I think that's much more doable than a Greek row, since that would cost billions of dollars that Boise State doesn't have access to, and neither does the legislature. I think a designated house serves as a great placeholder for a Greek row in the future. We can have a designated house for each chapter with their letters on it, and that's available to every single one. They already have their designated party houses, so I think it's very doable, and it would be fun for everybody. That's Greek life, and that would be a community sense for everybody there. And for
yes, for safety, we want to, if elected, implement an ID card that we pass out to the students that allows all resources of members for security numbers, mental health services, counseling, that allows students direct contact in any situation to those services and those resources. And that is just one way we want to implement our safety measures.
Thank you, candidates. That will conclude our formal presidential and vice presidential questions. We're now going to move to the audience questions. So if all of you guys would like to take a seat, we're going to start with the associate vice president positions. So if we could get Riley, Callista, and Melanie back to the podiums. Welcome back. Thank you. So one of our first audience questions was, do you feel it is important that people from all backgrounds should feel welcomed on campus? If so, what will you do to foster more diversity, equity, and inclusion on campus? And let's start with Riley.
Yes, I definitely think it's very important that everyone is represented. And I think a big part of what I want to do as organizational affairs officer is really make sure that everyone feels, all those clubs and organizations from all different parts of campus can feel represented and really feel like their voice and feedback is being heard. And I will be serving as a liaison between these organizations and student government so that we can definitely make sure that they are getting their needs fulfilled.
Thank you. If we could pass it to Melanie. So again, the question is, do you feel it is important that people from all backgrounds should feel welcomed on campus? If so, what will you do to foster more diversity, equity, and inclusion on campus?
Yes, for definitely. I mean, the whole purpose behind the Inclusive Excellence Student Council is to give everybody a voice, and I think definitely everybody should feel welcome. This is our campus, this is our community, and we should all feel like we're a part of it. And something that I want to do to ensure this is to build that trust and community
by letting students know that they are heard, that they are represented.
Thank you. We'll pass it over to Calista. The question is, do you feel it is important that people from all backgrounds should feel welcomed on campus? If so, what will you do to foster more diversity, equity, and inclusion on campus?
Absolutely, I think it's very important. I think a way that we can do that, and I've mentioned this in an ASBSU meeting before, is focus on language. Boise State currently only offers 12 languages in their courses. I think there's over thousands of languages in the world. Why don't we have more courses offered? I think we could focus on that. That's something I can implement possibly. And I think people altogether need to focus on language. I'm currently working on my intermediate certificate in Spanish. I took AP Spanish in high school, and Spanish is spoken a lot. I mean, maybe not in Idaho, but it's spoken a lot in the US. And I think that's one language, but there's also multiple languages. People need to focus. Language leads to understanding the culture. And I think that's really important. That's something that I would be definitely willing to focus on.
Thank you. The next question was directed towards Calista, but the other two candidates, you guys can weigh in if you would like to after the fact. Do you think minority groups should have to tolerate hate speech in the classroom and on campus, even though it is considered freedom of expression?
No, that's not something that I support at all. People should be getting in trouble for that. Definitely, whether it's faculty or students, that should not be tolerated at all. Anywhere, not just in the classroom.
Thank you. Either candidate, would you guys like to weigh in? Okay, great. Well, that concludes our audience questions for the Associated Vice President positions. If you guys could take a seat, thank you very much. We'll now move back to the presidential and vice presidential tickets for audience questions for them.
All right, hello again. So for this first question is for all tickets. It is, do you feel it is important that people from all backgrounds should feel welcomed on campus? If so, what will you do to foster more diversity, equity, and inclusion on campus?
Absolutely. I feel like this is not a controversial question. I don't think any of us should have shockingly different answers. Yes, everyone should feel included on campus. And part of that comes from the statement that, this campus and this school is not more of my school than it is of anyone's, right? We're all here equally, and we should all have equal access to our education and to our experiences. How we're going to foster that change and continue that platform is in representation. Those who are not represented are likely to feel more disenfranchised than those who are not. So what we plan to do is, as mentioned earlier in the selection of appointed individuals, is guarantee that those who are not being adequately represented, whether that's in the House or in the General Assembly or the Senate, receive positions in the Executive Council. That is how we can accomplish making sure everyone has a voice within the school, as well as improving and increasing the importance of the Inclusive Excellence Student Council. They're an important aspect of the school, yet too often that fifth branch of government gets left out. We need to do more of them, more to increase and improve their impact with the student body.
All right, I think we can pass it over to Eric. Then to reiterate the question, it is, do you feel it is important that people from all backgrounds should feel welcomed on campus? If so, what will you do to foster more diversity and equity and inclusion on campus?
Well, absolutely. Of course, yes. One of the first things our campaign has really started doing is just last Friday, we met with the MLK Living Legacy Celebration group on campus, talked a little bit about our campaign, get some feedback about how we can be more inclusive and equitable in our campaign points. We learned a lot, actually. There was a lot of great advice that we were able to adapt our campaign to. Win or no win, we plan on continuing to meet with them to make sure that we're doing everything we can to be an equitable group on campus and fight for equity.
Yes, I agree. And also being a part of the Panhellenic community, I've realized that there are actually 4 multicultural sororities and 2 fraternities. And to be honest, I hadn't heard much about them. I think that it's important that they get just as much light and support and recognition as the other fraternities and sororities. Every frat and sorority has a philanthropy that they work on. So including the multicultural ones, we are not just social clubs. I think it's important that everyone recognizes that everyone is helping out their community.
One final point to add, some great advice I heard during that meeting was that just because we're not being reached out to by the IEC or the OK group, it doesn't mean we're not doing something wrong. We need to actively reach out to them and say, hey, how can we do better? Is this something that looks good? We want to do that all the time.
Then for Julie and Sarah, do you feel it is important that people from all backgrounds should feel welcomed on campus? If so, what will you do to foster more diversity, equity, and inclusion on campus?
Yes, we absolutely believe that. I'm a child of immigrants. I'm a first generation college student, and I feel like I have every single opportunity presented to me as everybody else. Like we said, we welcome any diversity we've got. I think that's where the best ideas are brought upon, when people disagree and we can figure out a solution. We want to represent every single person. We are your advocates. We work for you. So we want to advocate for you. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Tell us what you want ASBSU to do, the executive board, joint assembly. We want to hear from you. We want to work with you, build a relationship, whether that's one-on-one, whether that's in assembly or Senate, and figure out what we need to do to have everybody represented. I love that Kelsey said she wants someone on the from the Gender Equity Center on assembly. That's great. You should have a person represented from every single organization and club, and everybody needs to be represented and have the same opportunities.
I think Julie touched on it well, that not only do we want to represent all groups on campus and reach out to those, but also we are creating those forums and wanting to bridge those gaps in relationships so that we want to hear from you guys on your specific needs and wants and ways in which you feel best represented, the ways in which we can help to implement that for you. We have ideas and we have action plans to implement those, but ultimately we work for the students, and so it's from the students in which these great ideas and continued diversity can move forward.
Okay, great. So for our second audience question, it is again for all tickets, and we'll start with Julie and Sarah. It is, do you feel it is important to address the sexual assault issue on campus? If so, how do you plan to alleviate this issue?
Yes, that is extremely important, and everyone sees the emails we get. It is extremely sad when we get an email a week. That's horrible. I think working together with Boise State, with Marlene Trump, with everybody, I think we, if elected, have a really great position to be that liaison between the students and Boise State, and we can work together to minimize that. For safety, we do plan to implement safety cards where it can connect to a counselor right away instead of going to Norco, signing up, waiting for a month for them to get you in. I didn't mention that. And it has those safety cards. Personally, if I was in danger, I wouldn't really think to run to a pole necessarily. That would be my first thought. I'd like to have a card right in my hand, be in a safe place where I can call and have access to safety members, a counselor, Boise Police Department. We really want to bridge the gap and the disconnect between the police and the city of Boise and Boise State. I think we can really work together with them to bring more safety to campus, because safety should always be a priority to everybody.
And I think with that, we want to build relationships with not only our security, but the Boise State Police. We want to invite them into things, invite the skills and the trainings that they have, offer self-defense classes, really just invite them into that and build that relationship with them. So it's not an us versus them, but we can work together to really help solve this sexual assault issue and just other safety matters on campus as a whole.
All right, and I can pass it over to Adam. And question is once again, do you feel it is important to address the sexual assault issue on campus? If so, how do you plan to alleviate this issue?
There is nothing more important at school than safety. If you're not safe, you have no interest in learning, you have no interest in attending school. Safety is our top priority. And as ridiculous as it sounds, one of the things to improve safety is to improve education. At the beginning of the year, for all freshmen, they're required to watch, it's like 3 hours of videos on sexual assault prevention. While the idea of that is phenomenal. The implications are not. People don't pay attention, they're not interested, and they breeze through it. And then these sexual assaults continue to happen. We need to improve the education around this. Improve and tell people what constitutes sexual assault and what does not. Some people, as again, ridiculous as it sounds, may not even know that their actions are not what they should be doing. Others willingly violate those rules. And that's where BPD comes in. There's been a growing stigma that Boise Police Department does not belong in Boise State. But they should not be the ones handling our situations. That should be some different third-party group. That's not true. Police are here to help us. The police need to be involved with the school, whether that be they have to go have a meet and greet with students, whether they have to go and actually introduce themselves to freshmen, then so be it. The Boise Police Department is here to help us. We need to have them as a more central part of our school, because I know when I see a police officer, I feel more safe, because I know that they're there to protect me and to protect the student body.
Do you feel it is important to address the sexual assault issue on campus? If so, how do you plan to alleviate this issue?
Awesome. We have a lot to cover on this one. We're very passionate, so we'll talk real quick. First of all, what do we know about sexual assault on campus? The first 6 weeks of any semester are the most dangerous on campus of sexual assault. That means we need to spend that time pushing out as many resources as we can to make sure everyone knows how they can get home safely and how they can respond if they are in an incident. Secondly, one of the points I'm most proud of our campaign with, and one of the things I'm going to push most in this office, is improving lighting across campus. Okay, it's absolutely something we can achieve. We identify places on campus that are not safe, even if it's not on campus. We need to work with the city of Boise and say what places on campus that students are living don't feel safe because of the lack of lighting. We're going to implement better lighting. We're going to make sure people get home safely.
Yes, and then one thing I touched on earlier was the Escort Programs. It's the campus safety ride program where an officer can pick you up and drop you off somewhere if you're not feeling safe. Something that we wanted to add to this program is the opportunity for students to meet those officers who will be coming and picking them up, because I think that they can possibly come off as intimidating, and if they get to know who they really are, then they will utilize this program more. And actually, talking about lighting, I actually have asked my sorority and a lot of sororities, and they have said that there are a few spots on campus that is really lacking lighting that they are scared to walk through at night. So that's one thing we're very excited for.
We're going to add that phone number for the ride pickup programs on the back of student IDs, and we've talked to 6 different frats and sororities, and 70% of them said safety is an issue, so we're going to fix it.
All right, and this next audience question is specifically geared towards Eric and Kelsey. However, the other candidates do have 30 seconds to respond if they'd like to after their initial response. And that question is, can you say more about how you prioritize sustainability initiatives on campus, given your experience on the sustainability committee?
Yes, thank you. So a few things that we've worked on with sustainability committee is a lot of waste is made when people are moving out. So I think that's somewhere where we want to start. My experience on the sustainability committee, we have had a lot of projects from different people who are coming and going, they're graduating. And so since I've been on that committee for so long, I am ready and prepared to tell the next people on the sustainability committee and whoever's leading that what these projects were, because I think that there is a huge group of students out there that are passionate about sustainability. And we also have a lot of resources out there that are on the Boise State app already, and I don't think a lot of people know about them or know how to use them. So I want to bring awareness to that as well. And I would love more ideas too, if anybody wants to message me.
Something our current administration has done that I think is awesome is getting a food vendor for next year. I think working with them about around finding new ways that we can improve sustainability in the food services area would be great. In addition to that, my freshman year, I helped fund the Bronco Beam app to help connect students that had lack of food to food that was going to get thrown out. I think they continue supporting that program and make sure the Bronco Beam gets spread university-wide.
And sorry, just to add one more thing onto that, it's not all like serious things that you have to do sustainability around campus. It can also be fun, like promoting sustainable art around campus is something that we've done. Sorry.
All right, and would the other candidates like to respond to this question?
Oh, that was good.
All right, so this next audience question is geared towards Adam and Ryan. And that is, would you consider onboarding a club sports representative similar to the IFC position you mentioned on the executive board?
Yeah, absolutely, because one of the things that I actually looked most forward to at Boise State when I was going to come here was the baseball program. Baseball program is gone. Very sad to see, and I think that we need to have the input from these students that have actually come to Boise State with the sole goal of not only improving their education, but also of being able to continue the sport that they love. And having somebody in the executive council with that in mind and with that as their primary goal to lobby the rest of the executive council for would be phenomenal. Representation is key in student council and student government. And the more people we have in executive positions, the more input we have to create legislation and to create change at Boise State. There is nothing wrong with more and more students being involved in the student body or the student government. So yes, I absolutely welcome that. I think that'd be a phenomenal addition to the executive council, somebody that's specifically designed to speak for and support student athletes in club sports. That would include stuff like hockey, lacrosse, and hopefully baseball. We can get that program back here at Boise State University.
I agree. I have friends on club volleyball team, club hockey team, club lacrosse team. And if you ask them, they don't feel like they're represented by the school. And like we said earlier with Greek Life, it's not nearly the 2,000 mark that all play club sports, but it still is a significant amount of students that are involved in club sports, and we should get them involved in ASBSU.
All right, would the other candidates like a chance to reply for this question for 30 seconds?
Probably for baseball.
Thank you.
All right, this last question from the audience is for all tickets. So we can start with Adam and Ryan. And that is, Greek Life only accounts for 2,000 students. What are you going to do for the remaining 20,000 plus students?
That's exactly right. Greek Life only accounts for about 10% of the student body. The other 90% equally deserve representation. This is still their school and their education. What we need from them is input. The reason that we mentioned that we want to create 2 new positions in the executive council for Greek Life is because they spoke up about it. What we want to do for students that are not in Greek Life and are just the other 90% that comprise the student body is to hear more directly from you guys. And that is how we're going to, with our in-person and open ASBSU meetings, that is how we'll improve your experience. Because then we'll actually have the opportunity to hear your concerns. Because right now, the 90% of the student body, they have 20,000 different things that they want to see accomplished. The only way we can hear from them and understand what they want changed is if they come and tell us. So we're going to open that avenue for you guys, so you can come in, you can testify on the things that we are planning to pass in ASBSU in the House and in the Senate, as well as at our executive meetings. Right now, they're closed. They're closed door sessions, and you have the opportunity to view them. We want you to have the opportunity to speak on that front and make your voices heard.
I was just going to say the reason we brought up Greek Life is because Greek Life students are the most involved students, both with clubs and organizations and in school and in classrooms. So it's one reason we brought up Greek Life in particular.
Go ahead and pass it to Eric and Kelsey. So once again, Greek Life only accounts for 2,000 students. What are you going to do for the remaining 20,000 plus students?
Number one, we're expanding elections. Only about 7% of our student body votes in elections every year. That is abysmal. Holy crap. We need to make sure that the majority of our student bodies vote in elections, making sure their voice is heard. Secondly, going off of the expanding elections, senates, every Senate seat needs to be elected by a large group, not just 50 people. When I was elected my first year as senator, it was about 50 people. Third, I have notes in here. We're going to create a legislation workshop. Once a month, students can come in, or senators or representatives, sit down for a couple of hours with experienced exec members or reps and senators, and we're going to connect and we're going to find ways that we can help draft new legislation with people there that understand the process. Finally, well, at least my final, I'm sure Kelsey has something to say. I can't read my own hand. That's a problem. Kelsey, you go.
I did touch on Greek Life a lot, so this is a really good question. I think that something that is underutilized is just simply surveys, sending them out to the student body. Personally, Eric and I would love to get face-to-face with as many students as we can. I don't know, I think this may have been lacking in prior positions, but one thing that I ran on as a senator was to unite students and make connections because that's where we learn from each other. And I think that providing opportunities for students to do this will bring together different types of students, and therefore I will be able to hear their concerns and ideas, and so will others.
Final point really quick, we're going to keep hybrid meetings. We want to make sure students that are on campus can engage in those student members.
Sarah and Julie, life only accounts for 2,000 students. What are you going to do for the remaining 20,000 plus students?
So I want to touch on Eric's point really quick. It was hybrid last year, but I think we only had like 2 in person and the rest assembly were only on Zoom. So that was kind of disappointing for me at least because I was looking forward to being in person. So I definitely want to implement more in-person things, mostly in-person things. You could always intend on Zoom. I think that's a great way, like we're doing this. Zoom is always available to you, but mostly in person. I agree with Adam. It's about input. If we don't have input, we don't know what we can do for each individual person, and that's so doable. I know there's 24,000 of us, but not everybody reaches out. So you need to reach out. We want to represent you. I didn't like what I saw from ASBSU, so I joined Assembly. I didn't like it, so now I'm running for president. You have the change starts from you, so you guys tell us what you want us to do. We will do our very best. We want to meet you in person. We want to hear. Safety is for everybody, not Greek life only. It's for every single person. The Boise Police Department wants to work with every single student, and we want to hear from you. So please tell us what we can do for you. It's not about us, it's about the students.
Yeah, and I think that's like a very valid question that, yes, Greek life does make up a good portion of campus, but there are a lot of other clubs that do get overshadowed. And I feel like that just to drive home the point that Julie and I have been running on is those making connections and relations with not only those students, but also those other clubs. Hearing from you, hearing your needs, hearing your wants, and the ways in which we can better represent you, just like Greek life represented.
They agreed with your points, so they named you, but they agreed. So that sums up our election debates today. Thank you so much, candidates. I'm going to pass it back to Alex for closing.
The questions were put on the QR codes on the slide, so we wanted all of them to go through the forms. So if the question wasn't picked, that is just how it went. We did not have time for all questions. So again, we have not given these people the round of applause that deserve, so I say we do that right now. I'd also really like to shout out the arbiter for hosting this and having all these questions. They did a great job tonight. Also for event services, the members of ASBSU who helped, and of course Jen Fields at home who is working the Zoom meeting. Shout out to them as well. This couldn't happen without all these people. So once again, I'd like to reiterate. I'd like to reiterate that elections will be on the 15th and 16th, which is next week. So again, we just want anyone and everyone to vote, as that has been stressed here. 7% is something that we're trying to improve also. So tell people to vote. And then this this Zoom meeting was recorded, so that will be found on hopefully the ASBSU elections website, and then the arbiter will also be posting on their website. So if anyone would like to share this with a friend, someone else, post it anywhere, that will be done. And once again, I would just like to thank all of our candidates and everyone for coming out here today. These are great in-person events that I'm glad that we can have again. And thank you all for coming out.